And topping our news this morning, that expected red election wave crashing into a blue breaker here in Pennsylvania.
The big prize, the vacant U.S. Senate seat, and it is flipping blue. Newswatch 16's Chris Keating stayed with the Fetterman camp until he declared victory early this morning.
We are here at Stage AE in Pittsburgh, where the John Fetterman election night party was held tonight. Hundreds of supporters showed up to support their candidate, John Fetterman. And the night was a roller coaster of emotions as supporters watched Mehmet Oz close the gap on John Fetterman throughout the night. But just around 1 a.m., John Fetterman's campaign claimed victory here at the AE stage. And just a few moments ago, he came out to say a few words.
I want to thank, of course, all these supporters all across Pennsylvania, all in this room, all across the nation, everyone that chipped in $10 to help us get here. And tonight, that's why I'll be the next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania.
And once again, just after 1 a.m., John Fetterman claimed victory here in Pennsylvania. And like he said, he told supporters tonight that he will not let them down. Chris Keating, Newswatch 16, reporting in Pittsburgh.
So let's take a closer look at that race here in Pennsylvania, here at our election center. So Fetterman with 50.2% to Oz's 47.4%, a close win, but what is being called a decisive win. There's still more votes to be counted, but the AP again calling that race for Fetterman. And one thing we want to point out, so there's one big difference. Like we're going to look at just Lycoming County for an example. Here's the difference between Trump in 2020 to Oz now. Oz getting less of a percentage there in Lycoming County, in Bradford County, in Susquehanna County, in Wayne County. Oz did not get as much of the share in a lot of those rural counties than Trump did, and that was a big factor in this race. So why does this matter so much? Well, let's take a look at the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. It was 50-50 going into last night. The Democrats have now picked up a seat with that Pennsylvania flip from Pat Toomey's seat. But there's still 4 U.S. Senate seats out there to decide around the country. We will be waiting on that. The U.S. House, a lot of seats yet to decide to see who takes control of that. So when we head back to our races, we're going to take a look at congressional races now. And how about the 8th district? This is Matt Cartwright versus Jim Bognett. Cartwright with a win of about 6,000 votes. There are still some provisional ballots to be counted in Luzerne County where Bognett is from. So we're keeping an eye on that. That race too close to call. Even closer, this is in the 7th district, the Lehigh Valley, including Carbon and part of Monroe County. Susan Wild, the incumbent Democrat, leading by just over 1% over Lisa Scheller, a 4,000 vote difference there. They're still counting there. That is too close to call. And we want to take a look at the other statewide race. Josh Shapiro with the big win over Doug Mastriano, 55% to 42, a big win there. Now, Luzerne County, interestingly, went Republican in the Senate race and went Democrat in the governor's race. But Luzerne County's story is much more than that. There were issues because of polling problems yesterday, and they were counting overnight. Newswatch 16's Elizabeth Worthington live in Wilkes-Barre with more on that.
Yeah, John, having 2 extra hours to head to the polls last night sounds nice, right? But every voter we talked to would have preferred if the polls closed at their regular 8 o'clock time and the polling places had enough paper. That was the problem yesterday. Several polling locations throughout the county ran out of the special paper needed for the voting machine. So we were at Hunlock Creek Volunteer Fire Company last night, a polling location there. That paper was out by 9:30 yesterday morning, just 2.5 hours after the polls opened. And poll workers there were frustrated, saying they were only receiving updates from the Elections Bureau via text message. And it was a similar story at sites across the county, including in Harveys Lake and Dorrance Township, just to name a couple. That led to a Luzerne County judge ordering voting hours to be extended until 10 o'clock. So when we asked the acting deputy director, Emily Cook, yesterday, the question on everyone's minds, how did this happen? She said it was, quote, a perfect storm of factors, including high voter turnout. Voters at those paperless polling locations had to vote by provisional ballot instead, and many left frustrated with the process.
Very disappointed, and I'm sure hoping my vote means something. How do I know that these votes are going to be counted? Just very disappointed in this whole system.
And something that I want to point out this morning on the county election website, the election results page, it has 100% of precincts reporting. But when you go to the individual vote types, the tally for the provisional ballots, which you can see right there on my phone, it still says 0. And obviously we know that there was a lot of provisional ballots that had to be counted. So we have to assume that they are still counting because they're not allowed to stop until they're done, thanks to a new requirement in Pennsylvania. And again, we were able to talk to the acting deputy director yesterday, but she was understandably very busy. So we still have lots of questions, as I'm sure our viewers do. We did reach out to the elections office again this morning, letting them know that we're here. So as soon as we hear back and get those questions answered, we will let you guys know. Reporting live in Luzerne County this morning, Elizabeth Worthington, Newswatch 16.
Yes, voters with a lot of questions and concerns this morning. Thank you, Elizabeth.